We need to talk about what's really going on post the safety summit and, kind of what's happening inside the agency. And we need to talk about what might happen to the unruly. Stay tuned. Okay, well, this took long enough. Now that reports of unruly passengers are on the decline to less than half the number we had in 2021, lawmakers have decided to take some action. And they have a plan, they've published a plan, to ban passengers who were fined or convicted of serious offenses on flights from flying again. So it won't be with those people that are on the other no-fly list. This is their own special no-fly list, which will be handled by TSA. And they would ban unruly passengers from boarding commercial flights. The law is called the Protection from Abusive Passengers Act and is intended to improve crew and passenger safety and hopefully deter further incidents. Now, TSA would have the job of managing the no-fly list as well as establishing the guidelines of how you get on the list, how you get off the list, and how long a person is on the list. And the bill has support from the airlines as well as the Association of Flight Attendants and the Airline Pilots Association. But there is some counter work going on. While those groups happen to be pro no-fly, the American Civil Liberties Union opposes the action. Now, I understand that these things can get screwed up, but it is only for people who have actually been fined or actually convicted of some unruly behavior, and I'm kind of okay with that, with keeping those people off of airplanes that can't keep their cool for a couple of hours at 35,000 feet. And it seems like these are always weird events. Even last month, a passenger on a United Airlines flight tried to open an emergency exit from LA to Boston and then attacked the flight attendant with a makeshift knife made from a spoon. I mean, it's just weird. These people shouldn't fly. Before I get into a little rant here, smash that like button, hit subscribe, ring the bell if you want to get notified. And now to our next subject. The FAA Safety Summit's over, but the work is now ongoing, both inside the agency and outside, to regain the confidence in our aviation system. In just 3 months, we've had 6 near collisions, a system meltdown, and several pilots becoming incapacitated. Administrator Nolan last week held an industry meeting in Baltimore and stated that the aviation industry has been plagued with staffing shortages, and in recent months, the FAA is no different. Well, let's stop right there for a second. Airlines have had staffing issues, sure, but the FAA, in just the recent months, now it has a staffing problem? At the top line, the FAA is more than funded than its budget request. So where did the staffing problem come from? NATCA verifies that there are 1,200 fewer certified professional controllers than there were 10 years ago. This isn't a few months issue. Staffing is a systemic issue, and the only plan I hear about is the one from NATCA that was announced last week at one of the House T&I hearing, and not from the FAA. But as odd as that isn't the most concerning statement. The top cry goes to Administrator Nolan's comment that going forward, 0 has to be the only acceptable number for serious incidents and close calls. Good so far. Air travel is coming back in a big way since the pandemic. Great so far. But the long layoff, coupled with increased technical nature of our systems, might have caused some professionals to lose some of that muscle memory. What? Lose their muscle memory? Are we practicing with live traffic here? Why were we not using the high-end simulators to keep our controller workforce sharp while there was no traffic? What were they doing? Allowing a workforce to get sloppy rests with the leadership. Who's accountable for that? I can buy staffing issues, but a loss of muscle memory some way is just plain unacceptable. So let's turn to what the Air Traffic Organization is doing to promote safety. The ATO's Chief Operating Officer, Tim Morrell, said there is no question that we are seeing too many close calls and is taking steps to improve its air traffic control operations. Great so far. The first action from the ATO was to issue a safety alert to the airlines, citing the need for continued vigilance and attention to mitigation of safety risks. in general, that's not so bad. It's a great first action. Have the pilots get their act together. But hey, I guess we're forgetting the Austin incident where a pilot took action to save the day. Let's remember, this is a team sport. Another thing the FAA is doing is reducing the traffic, or actually the capacity in New York, so they don't have to handle as much. Enough of putting all this on everybody else. What are they doing internally? So in addition to doing their daily work to keep the skies safe, the ATO is taking these additional steps. Ensure that supervisors let those guys go by. Ensure the supervisors devote their full attention to the operation during only peak, traffic periods. What were they doing before? Has their workload become so much administrative that they don't do that part of the job? Who will watch them, since they're the supervisors supposedly watching something else? This doesn't make any sense to me. They should have been doing this already. More dedicated training for unusual circumstances, and update the simulator software, which hasn't been done since 2016. Whoa! Well, while the traffic has been zero, what have they been doing? Besides unusual circumstances, training is an annual requirement anyway. What's the difference? The simulator software being 7 years out of date, how did that get by somebody that should have been updated maybe yearly, maybe even faster than that? There is an entire line of business focused on safety and training. What are they doing? Now going back to 16 like they haven't done something, like this is a surprise? Not buying it. Work with NATCA to reinforce safety protocols. Okay, finally, a good one. Should be working with NATCA. Should have already been working with NATCA. But working with NATCA, always a good thing. Reduce the training backlog by training at every opportunity. Shouldn't we already been doing that? Shouldn't we have been doing that all the time? There's a huge backlog of certified professional controllers. Why wouldn't that have already been the plan? We have to let everybody know, hey, don't forget you need to train people, and re-examine runway incursion data. Okay, should have been doing that every single day. The whole thing just isn't satisfied. It isn't data-driven. It is just we need to do better at the things we already do every day, even though we don't really do them. Since I'm getting on an airplane tomorrow, I have to hope that plan actually works, but I'd rather see some kind of leadership of making some tangible and measurable actions. Back to the FAA on that one. Hey, it is concerning that amateur or Chinese balloons, or anybody else's balloons for that matter, are flying high up in the National Airspace System. But other than aliens, what else could be flying up there? Are there birds that can fly up there? And up there, I mean somewhere between 30,000 and 40,000 feet. What do you think? And the scary answer to that is yes. Ruppel's griffon vulture is the highest flying bird, reaching an altitude of 37,000 feet. They're found in the Sahel region of Central Africa. The vulture's body is made for effective oxygen intake, enabling it to soar at incredible heights. And the Ruppel's vulture does indeed hold the record for the highest bird strike. In 1973, the bird struck an aircraft at 37,100 feet, causing the aircraft to make an emergency landing. I am sorry to report, but I have no idea what happened to the bird. The silver medal in the height department goes to the Eurasian crane, which can soar to 33,000 feet. And the last place on the podium, the bronze medal, goes to the largest flying bird, the actual physically largest flying bird, the Andean condor, which can fly to 16,000 feet. Who knew this stuff? So it isn't just balloons that we need to worry about, but really big birds. I hope that our next generation surveillance systems actually take this into account. It sounds kind of scary though. It's kind of like a movie title. F-22 Raptor versus the Condor. I'll see you next time. So, those people that go on